All right. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Oh, it's been so energetic today.
Yeah, we were just talking about the energies and how, because today, this morning on 12/12 at 12/12, we had the full moon.
I was up. I stayed up for it.
Yeah, I did too. And when I went in the room, because she was already asleep and it was dark in the room, but the moon was so bright.
It was bright.
I could see very easily, because normally I'm coming from the light in the hallway into the room. I have to feel my way to the bathroom, and I didn't. I could see perfectly clear.
Yeah, it woke me up actually this morning early, about 5 o'clock. It had come down, on the horizon, and so it was shining in the bedroom window straight on me, and I was like, is that the moon?
It's like, hey, Gina, wake up and check me out.
So I stared at it for a while. I was like, wow. So anyway.
All right.
Incredible.
So let's go ahead and get started. See what happens.
Get started.
All right. The first one is each part of you committed to the whole. Okay, and this is WHOLE. That is a theme. We each are made of many facets or personas. These personas are represented by one or more feelings. Insecurity within you may be its own persona, or it could be accompanied with one or more feelings regularly to form a persona. The key is that you and only you know how your personas are arranged and how they appear within you on a regular basis. You may not recall the exact details, but you're quite familiar with your anger persona and what other feelings typically accompany it when it appears. Well, that being inside you that is aware of those personas, that's your organizer or manager. And his or her role is to get all the facets to commit to the health and longevity of the whole.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good. Before you go on, there's some noise. I don't know. Did you hear
It's my fan maybe in the background. Let me turn it off. Hang on one sec. That's probably what it is.
Yeah. Because it was a little cutting the mic in and out, so I'm not sure that we caught all.
Is that better?
Yeah. Well, the good thing is I'm going to type this up.
Yeah.
So if in the reading you can't hear me, this will be in the
written below.
It'll be in the description.
Yeah.
So I'll write this up like I have been doing for everything I wrote here. So the important thing is we are made up of parts in our, call it our psyche or whatever, of all our different feelings. And you may have a feeling that's reused in different personas. But personas, you know it. You wake up one day and you feel this way throughout the whole day. That's a persona. And then you may see it the next day, but then again, you may not see it for 4 or 5 days.
Right.
These are, most of us are made up of 2, 3, 4, 7 different personas.
Yeah.
This is what goes into making, if people are familiar with MK Ultra and the mind programming and all that, they're well aware of this. And this is how they program people. But the way they go about it is they do it it's trauma-based. But that's not the only way it can be done. That's the way they chose to do it because they want speed and efficiency.
And they want to lock and separate each of the personas versus having flow.
And they're also doing it against your will. So that's why they have to do it trauma-based. We are in the process of taking that back over with the help of your higher self. That's the basis of that one.
Yeah, and the higher self piece is that manager part that you talked about. Yeah.
All right. So the next one says, holy union, and holy is spelled WHOLLY.
I knew that even before you said that too.
Yeah.
Holy union. For a lot of us, each persona can seem to have its own agenda. Your manager does what it can to keep them in check, but sometimes it can be a bit much. The good news is that your manager is due some training, which is going to be given by you, more specifically, your higher self.
Mm-hmm.
This training is aimed at pulling all your facets together into a holy union and utilizing the power of the whole to enforce the integrity of each persona's commitment to not your brain, but to the spirit of your heart.
Mm. Yeah.
Okay. For a lot of you, this is going to be done for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Some people say, well, I didn't get to choose. Yes, you did. That when you came here, you knew this day was the day or the days was coming. Some people are already undergoing this.
Mm-hmm.
They can feel it. They're building in pauses with their normal feelings, and it's up till now it's been instinctual.
Yeah.
Something triggers you, and you instinctually go towards anger or insecurity or whatnot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that ends. What I'm saying is you're reorganizing that. You're taking the pieces, because all the people that did this to us, we gave them the power to do it. They could not destroy us. They could not rip parts out of us. What they had to work with was the whole of us, and all they could do is reshuffle the pieces around in order to favor them and not us.
Right.
And that's what we're now in the process of doing. It's reorganizing it back to where it works in our favor.
Well, and you mentioned training in there too, right? So, that goes to, training ourselves. You and we've talked a lot about and watched some videos on horses and
horse training,
parrots, and
dog
different
training,
ways of training.
Bird, parrots, dogs, horses, even wild animals.
Mm-hmm.
Being click training, and also other forms of training. And I didn't know why I got interested in it, and I started showing it to her. And so, because I started with horses, and I was like, I started with parrots.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, this is amazing, just the way. And what they're doing is humans developing a line of communication with their pets.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing the way it works. The animals are almost eager to do it once it starts working.
But think about, and we've talked about this because this is a way that we can work with ourselves, because those personas that we have, we even talk about it, mama bear coming out, and, these instinctual kind of reactions. Those are some of them are very similar to animal reactions, because they're instinctual, and the building in of the pause, because recently I was, dealing with some energies coming up and things like that. And part of that training with animals is to build in the pause. And so for me, it was like, I had to exhaust myself, through it, and then go, I don't want this anymore. How do I start to build in a pause and start to retrain that persona, that whatever that trigger that launches that persona, do I want it to operate like that? And if I don't, take ownership of it for myself and say, okay, how do I start to retrain that? And it sounded funny at first when we started talking about it, but it works. It works for yourself.
Well, when you think about the last video we did had to do with the symbiotic being that we are. Mm-hmm. Well, what we're doing is we're training the human. The human is now ready and willing to be trained.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's like we're broken. Finally, the wild horse is broken, ready to be trained.
Right.
Yes.
So that's the situation we're in. This is for the good. This is letting it run wild just means someone else is going to train it.
Right.
And that's what it did. Now that training is over.
Yeah.
And now it's time for our highest good to take over the training.
Yeah. And as we watched that, the animals, the reaction of the animals to the owners was much more loving and connected and integrated. You know, when you looked at that, so you think about yourself, you think about loving yourself and feeling whole. Right. I mean, it's developing that relationship with all those many personas of yourself.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense.
All right. The next one is reformation of the whole. And of course, it's spelled WHOLE. In coming here to this matrix, you agreed to a makeover. They dressed you up and styled you for a role. However, those physical changes are but reflections of the makeover that was done inside you. Your feelings were arranged into combinations and personas that serve the role the system intended for you. Those feelings are you. How they are grouped, organized, and triggered is not. If you will allow it, your manager and higher self will reform your personas into the holy union that is best suited to serve your needs and lay the foundation for your wishes and wants.
It's been coming up for me this week. Like how all these, the trauma gets there in the beginning, how the soul contracts, we like hire or, get these people to come in, cause the feelings so that we can overcome the feelings so that we can then remember who we were to begin with, and just the setup of it to be like ahead of time. That's been coming up for me a lot lately, just with my mom and stuff, like thinking about how we set it up ahead of time so that I would have those feelings to begin with so that I could solve them.
Right.
It's like you said that. It's like you described exactly what I've been feeling all week.
Right. And what we've all been through, that wasn't a waste. That wasn't.
No.
We learned a lot.
That was all. That was all to experience it and learn to appreciate the good and the bad. Learn to
I spent my life running from it, and now I'm so grateful for all of it. I spent my life running away from everything and wishing that it never happened, and now I'm just like, I'm appreciative of it because I know that was the whole point.
Well, I just told somebody today, I said the best adventures in your life are those in the middle of it. You think you're going to die, but then after you're like, you never forget it, and you talk forever after that.
Because it shows you that's what starts to bring out who you really are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just like the wild animals, like the wild horse, they fight. They'll fight you and everything. But once they start to see some successes, they start to go, you can see almost like the light bulb click on with them going, if I just let this happen this way, I get to watch and participate, and I get to communicate my feelings. This isn't to cover over your feelings.
Right.
This is to allow your feelings to flow naturally instead of being used against you, but now be able to be used for your greatest good. But was the human ready for that right when we came in? No, I think we would have just gone right back to where we were. We would have said, no, this is too hard.
This is a stupid stupid animal. We need to get rid of
dumb horse.
But it reminds me of the story that you told about the dog too that was barking all the time. It was doing what it thought was a good thing to do, and our human does that. It does what it thinks in our best interest unless we step up and take our role ourselves.
I watched a YouTube clip of a woman who had a German Shepherd. She was an older woman, and the German Shepherd was fairly young. And that German Shepherd, you could tell that German Shepherd loved her, just loved her, but wouldn't let anyone else get near her. And it barked at everything. Well, this guy came in and basically realized this dog was doing everything it could to protect her because it saw its role as protector of her. And he realized he needed to let the dog know that the woman could protect herself for most things and free the dog up to be a dog.
Oh, yeah.
And he did.
Yeah.
And by the end, the dog was very eager for, well, he was training her, training the dog, and he was showing the dog, I got this. Go play. And the dog would go play. Because before, the dog would not play with any animals. Even other dogs, when they go for a walk, the dog would want to attack the other dog. But by the time he was done with the training, he was going and playing with the dogs and rolling over on its back and playing with smaller dogs. It was amazing to watch. And that dog was happy.
Yeah, well, think about that if that was our human. We attack each other. And we're exhausted, adrenaline overload, because we're in that constant state of, and now if we take that attitude with ourselves of saying, helping our human interact with our high self and step up and be that leader or sovereign self, then the human aspect of us can relax and play.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. The next one is the reformed whole of you is part of the whole of humanity. And those are spelled WHOLE. As is being done with you, the same reformation is being done with the whole of humanity, as above, so below. Humanity's restructuring will attract the best combination of the reformed you, just as the reforming you will attract the best combination of humanity. Without the best of you, humanity is one less change agent in achieving its best. No worries, though. The same higher forces assisting humanity is the same group of higher forces assisting you. It is your higher self.
Yeah, that's good.
We are just now beginning to realize how prior to this, how everything was stacked against us on purpose for us to learn. Now we're coming into a time where everything is stacked in our favor. We had to go again, through that to appreciate it.
Right.
Now the wonder and joy is just going to be almost overwhelming, because right now the dark forces, the cabal, they are trying everything and nothing is working for them. This is universe from our perspective, snapping back to where it should have been or could have been had they not done that. But we needed them to do that,
right,
so that we can now go through this.
Yeah. Well, that kind of reflects the energy we were talking about before the call, the energy I've been feeling yesterday. When I was having my meditation in the morning, it was like this flood of fullness of joy, and tears came, and I was just feeling this fullness of joy. It's a bit what you're talking about there. And then today it was this feeling of my children are coming home kind of feeling. And so it's you can feel that wholeness starting to move in that collective direction.
Wholeness?
Yes, exactly.
Is it spelled W-H?
Yes. It is.
All right.
With the W-H.
The next one is your view widens from a single road to the whole landscape. The reorganization of your personas will begin to broaden your view into multiple perspectives that fill in your missing pieces of humanity's landscape. This is a merging of your highest good with that of humanity's highest good. Beliefs that have held you and humanity captive are already unraveling the truths that set you free. You'll begin to know and feel that which is for your highest good, because that is what the highest good of humanity is attracting for you.
Yeah. That's good.
All the pieces are starting to come together. I had a vision of a puzzle that all the pieces had the exact same cut on them. They all fit together, and you can change them in any order. This piece can connect to this piece over here, and this piece could connect to, and you could change the landscape. And we didn't know how it worked. We just came in, and the puzzle was being put together by some other force. And we allowed it so we could watch and experience it and see what it, and by the time it got done and we looked at it, we were like, okay, I see how that worked. But I don't like that. I don't like the finished puzzle. I don't like the way it's viewed. It doesn't resonate with me. So now what are we doing? We're taking select pieces out, and because they all go together, and we're putting them where we want them to be. What are those pieces? They're us.
Yes.
And the whole is humanity. And if you want a job, a particular endeavor or whatnot, no one can tell you not to do it. It'll be you. It'll be your actions that decide whether or not you go do it. You have to believe in yourself. You have to step up. You have to want to do it. You have to be motivated to do it. If any of those fail, you won't do it. But what your higher self is now working with you is you've got all those pieces inside your own puzzle, inside you, and you just have to believe in them.
Yes.
So now it's training you to believe in those pieces. And then once your pieces, all your pieces are together, and you make your finished puzzle, or as you're doing it, then you complete a whole piece that goes into humanity's puzzle.
Yeah, and I think part of what we're doing is going back and finding these pieces of our puzzle that we've left here and there, and we're retrieving those and making our
they were all here.
Out our whole,
they just weren't in the right place that you wanted them to be, or that worked for your highest good. Remember when we did a video with Sheila and Lisa, and I talked about the puzzle.
Yes, you did.
She loved puzzles, so we got on that.
That's right.
Now it came back.
Yeah, that's right. You did talk about that.
Now it makes much more sense.
I was thinking when you said the puzzle piece, I was thinking we've talked about that before. I can't remember when. Yeah.
All right. So the last one, and this one's a lot longer. So we'll do this one. Okay. I think I did. I'm sure I didn't skip any. Yeah. Okay. Each part supports the whole spectrum of support. Each part supports the whole spectrum of support.
Okay.
Sounds like circular reasoning, right?
A little bit. Yeah.
Okay, so bear with me. Just as the internal supports the external, and the below supports the above, so will the external support the internal, and the above will support the below. The community that you are attracted to that you will be attracted to in the coming days will be the same community that is attracted to the reformed you. It will pull out the best of you just as you pull out the best it can be. Human society will also follow suit in regards to supporting communities and you. This spectrum of support will attract the best of you for leaders and architects that resonate with the needs of society and you. See the circular reason? Yeah. Gone will be a system that fed on fear, separation, consensus by force, militaries, elections, corruption, celebrity and exclusion, and replaced with a wholeness of cooperation, empathy, compassion, and knowing that is shared by way of intent, feeling, and eventually telepathy. The days are numbered, for we are on the cusp of this shift, this reformation of the holy union, led by the spirit of your heart.
Yeah. Wow. That's the divine union. That's the divine union. Yep.
This is getting ready to happen. This is happening.
It has. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I feel it. I can totally feel it.
Things are actually coming. It's almost like we will not be able to do any wrong.
Right. I know that. I mean, I feel today, especially today. Yesterday was different, but today I feel like I can do or have anything I want, and it's almost so overwhelming because it's like, what do I want? You know, because I need to be real specific about it because I'm going to get it. You know what I mean? So I need to, you know, it's like I got to be careful because I want one thing now. I'm at 10 minutes later, I want another thing. You know, so it's like I've got to really fine tune this now. I'm going to get what I want.
Yesterday, yeah, that's so true.
I had a long conversation with her yesterday about that.
About that very thing.
That's not bad to be that way.
No.
You're starting to realize your power and your ability. Now,
and your responsibility.
Your manager is going, okay, that's good, but we don't want to hurt anyone.
Right.
To take away from anyone. We want this to be conducive to other people's advancing in that same way. So we talked about, well, then how is this going to shake out? Well, the best of you is going to pull out the best of humanity.
Yeah.
The best of humanity will pull out the best of you, but it won't all happen in one shot. You are your own regulator. The system, the new system, will be patient with you and allow you to develop your confidence and be able to view from a multi-dimensional perspective, meaning many perspectives at once, and gain a better understanding of what your actions and the possible repercussions of those actions could be to not only you but others.
Right.
Yeah, because if we're all part of the puzzle and we're all puzzle pieces, if we move or do something, it affects the whole puzzle. So having a view of, you know, we do have a responsibility, connection, and interaction with the whole. And
it's almost like you can't like you won't have the knowing until you can be trusted with the knowing, because like had this happened to me a year ago, I'd be sitting in a mansion, you know, with like bottles of champagne and like, yeah, love and light, woo!
Exactly.
But the good thing is that universe is snapping back. We can have those moments of letting ourselves fly off and fantasize about this without going whole hog, because our higher self says, okay, you're still in training. It's like the horse who learns one trick and now just wants to go around doing that one trick all over the place. It's like, there's more. So it's building your confidence so that you don't become too fearful. Oh, I don't want to hurt anyone.
Right.
But at the same time saying, I need to let myself go. How do you manage that? Well, that's where your higher self is going to come in. We're raising our frequency and we're getting closer to our higher selves. So the communication is becoming clearer and clearer. And the more we start to trust it, the higher we will go and realize you don't need to have to worry about all the details.
Right.
Just know about them within you and be aware of them. When your anger sparks, realize that your normal instinct is to fly off the handle and go this. And right now, you don't have to have an answer for it. Just pause. Just pause. Your higher self is training you to just take a second, let the instinct, the need for that instinct to die down, and let's see So let's see what your options are really on the table that you can do and not fall back to the old ways.
Right.
And it really only takes a few seconds. It's amazing.
Right.
It only takes a few seconds on a craving. It only takes a few seconds on a reaction. It's just a few seconds. It's that pause.
And this is in every facet of your life.
Mm-hmm.
This has to do with how you interact with everyone in your life, how you interact with your kids, your friends, your coworkers, how you interact with things like food, with luxury items, with base needs. It's all this is, we're learning a new perspective or multiple perspectives on this so that we can go, oh, okay, well, that feels more wholesome. Spelled W.
Holistically. Yeah, definitely.
So this isn't something you try for.
No.
This is something you pause and let happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Your higher self wants to help you, is primary objective, his or her primary objective is to guide you to your ultimate best of what your needs and wants and wishes are. But that doesn't mean every wish and want, because it's circular reasoning. Some, you think you want this, and as soon as you start going down that road, you're like, oh, wait a minute, I don't want that. The higher self says, I'm going to teach you how to kind of see that coming, so that you utilize your multi-dimensional perspectives to be able to get a view of that road before you start down that road. And then you can go, yeah, okay, I like the way that feels when I get to the end. Before you even start it, then you can go ahead and do it.
Yes.
Keep from wasting energy. But yeah.
And at first it takes practice, but it's funny how once you keep doing it, it just starts to happen naturally. I'm noticing myself just pausing all the time now before I do anything, make any decisions. And it's just becoming second nature.
Yeah,
first nature.
Well, the big thing for me was not pausing to analyze, which which is what I would go to, is like pausing to analyze it, look at it, figure out. No, it's just pausing, just to allow some space so that
just pausing so you can see
voice can come in, or that feeling can come in of what to do. Because if you pause with the calculation or an analysis piece, you're all in your head, and that doesn't let the heart wisdom come in to be.
Yeah, it's pause so that the observer in you can basically get the lay of the land.
Right.
And not be so stuck on that one track road that you were on whenever that persona was triggered.
Right.
Because that's largely how we've been programmed. I mean, when we're young, we realize we have these feelings or these sensations, and we respond this way, and it has this action. So then our sensors are up to say, okay, well, if we feel that, then that means this, and we do this, and and so it's reassessing all of those and recalibrating all of those sensors to say, okay, let me pause and let me just put my tentacles out here and feel what else is there besides what I think is there, just from my own narrow experience within this lifetime. And that's where the high self can bring in additional stuff for us to get a different perspective, the multidimensional perspective, the way to see it from somebody else's viewpoint, or, a broader view.
I was thinking that the other day too, because it's once the anger's gone, the triggers are gone. It's like, is the anger gone, or do I just know how to handle it better? Because it's like once it's not in there anymore, it won't come out anymore. Once it's all been purged, I guess. So it's like, I was thinking the other day, because I'm like, I don't really get angry anymore. I have my moments of whatever, but I'm like, is it gone, or do I just know how to handle everything so much better?
You've broken that code, and I just posted the thing from Blossom Goodchild that talks about codes, and we're all codes. I mean, we've broken that code of this, then that, and we've said, no, we don't want this, then that. We want to choose what the response is going to be when we feel it.
Well, we've had this conversation many times, and this was a huge awakening for me. It started when we read that book by Kathy O'Brien.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's not for the faint of heart either.
Yeah.
It's the transformation of America.
And it's TRANCE formation. America.
Yeah, transformation of America. She was an MK Ultra programmed slave that started way back when she was an infant.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And I'll tell you, it's not for the faint of heart.
No, be ready if you're going to read it, because
it's quite.
I'm definitely going to order it as soon as we get
it's
I'll tell you what, the point I'm getting to is her story is an extreme. Okay. Yeah. And when I finished reading that book, I said, man, I'm glad I'm not brainwashed like she is. And then I realized, oh crap.
How do we even know?
We all are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every single person on this planet is brain programmed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You may not want to admit it, and as long as you don't admit it, your higher self is going to have trouble training you.
Right.
Until you admit it and you realize that's what the Matrix is. We're all avatars that are programmed in some form or fashion. We hopped in to programmed bodies. Mm-hmm. What we're doing now with the help of our higher self is getting rid of that. You can't just take programming out. What you do is you replace it with programming that suits your needs and not someone else's needs. Just like Kathy O'Brien went through this programming, she was abused, heavily abused as a child to evoke trauma so that they could splinter her mind into multiple personas. Mm-hmm. She didn't even know about these personas. They would be triggered. They used nursery rhymes and things of that nature to trigger them. They would start saying a nursery rhyme and boom, she would change right into a particular persona and stay in that persona till she was triggered out of it. And then afterwards, she wouldn't even know that she did it.
No, wow. Not know. And what's the show on right now, the series, that Treadstone? Treadstone's a series on USA
Network.
That actually is showing.
It's like Jason Bourne.
Mm-hmm.
It's the whole Jason Bourne trilogy and how that was done. Yep. It's true.
Yes.
That's exactly there. But there are many, many facets of it. The U.S. government actually trained people to perform that way. Mm-hmm. They're actually in existence right now and have been for decades. But there are also many other, say, lower lying facets of the same type, but they may not go around killing people. Mm-hmm. They may go around doing corporate espionage but they work for them. They're puppets and they're triggered. And oftentimes they don't even know they're triggered when they're triggered. They don't even know what they do when they go get triggered. And then when they get triggered back and they're back in their environment, they don't even know what happened. Mm-hmm. They might have like a sinking for feeling that maybe they have some missing time or whatnot.
They have a bruise or something.
But they don't know how they got it. Yeah. They don't know what happened.
And there's even research out there you see where people that have multiple personalities, whenever their personality kicks in, they can have a different language. They can have different physical things. Like one personality could have an allergy, another personality could have massive strength, mm-hmm. And so it's all compartmentalized in those things. And that's how that works. I mean, that's how those have been programmed like that. So it's like completely different people, but they don't know each other exists.
And some of these people were operated by U.S. presidents.
Yeah, that's what her book's about.
Wow.
They were operated by directors of the CIA and other
alphabets. Yeah.
So they're alphabet agencies,
Mm.
who, and I mean, we got to thinking about it, and through our other research, we were saying, where did this come from?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you want to know where it came from the Nazis.
That's what they were doing.
Operation Paperclip brought over all these Nazis after World War II and brought them into our country to work as rocket scientists, like von Braun, who headed up NASA in the early days.
Was a German
scientist.
So weird. I've been like watching stuff about this all week. That's so weird.
We also brought over all kinds of scientists who were doing things that were
questionable,
not good for humanity. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them were doing things of this nature, and they were training people of the intelligence agencies and certain politicians. Lots of the politicians knew how to operate these people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
I would say this: you can't be in the upper tier of politics within the federal government if you don't at least know about it and haven't partaken in it. Now, some of them have realized the error of their ways and are now working with Trump and the White Hats to undo all this. But they did it. They were guilty. And that will come out down the road. But guilt is a matter of a spectrum. Okay? But it doesn't matter. Even the worst, the most evil, all of them, for our sake, we have to forgive them.
They're programmed.
That doesn't mean they don't serve a sentence. It just means for our sake and where we want to go, we need to release that.
Right.
But
Gina, what was the quote, the Matt Kahn quote you told me yesterday about the forgetting about the light? Remember?
The forgiveness?
That's kind of what it is.
Forgiving them for forgetting their light.
Right.
Forgiving them for doing something to us because that ego is still in that. But you're forgiving them for forgetting their light in front of us, which resulted in us having to experience something. But if we remember our light, we can endure that experience and take away from it what we need as a soul development piece.
Yes.
That shifts the focus from them doing something to us, and now we want to do something back to them, to releasing them from that and realizing that they're doing it to themselves. I mean, they've caused a lot of damage to themselves, more damage to themselves than they've done damage to us long term if we get in touch with our high selves.
Well, the thing is that we needed people to play those parts in the old paradigm. And in outside this matrix, they didn't want to play the part.
Right.
They had to love us so much in order to go play those parts because they knew what it was going to do to us. And then once we found out the hatred that would be steered in their direction, they knew that day was coming. But in the end, we gave them permission to do it, and we asked them to do it. So even if that isn't the case, that is the best solution going forward, is to forgive them and say, I'm not going to let you've drug us down far enough. We're not going to let you drag us down anymore. So now deal with your own karma, because that ultimately, you're not their judge. There's nothing you can do to them that is worse than what they're going to do to themselves.
Well, because outside of this matrix, we're all whole and we're all love. So you have to, in this matrix, we're different roles. But outside of this matrix, like you said, they knew. I mean, think how hard it is to practice tough love with someone. And how it feels when you have to do tough love with somebody and they are spewing, venom on you sometimes because you took the road that's the better for them. I mean, imagine, exponentially that venom that's they're going to feel from people, or have the propensity to feel from people from what they've done. So Yeah, it is. It is very much the way that you can get to feeling compassion toward them, and it takes a journey to get there. And I know some people listening may be going, "What are you talking
I
about?"
know.
If you just sit with it, and your high self will inform you of these things. If you sit in the love energy and think about it, and think about and meditate on it, you will get these messages. Because a few years ago, I couldn't have held this view
Me either.
myself. So I'm going to try to record that Little Soul in the Sun book and put it on the channel, because I think that is a way of people understanding a little bit this what we're talking about.
And I believe it releases your karmic attachment to that relationship and that person. Once you can come away and face it with love completely, it's like your karmic contract is over and you can move forward, and it's like it's done.
Yeah.
That's what's been happening with me.
Just as another perspective, those roles that we're talking about, those dark, evil roles, well, we've all played them.
Yes.
And if you think you're too good to have played those roles, you're fooling yourself, and you're going to, I don't wish it upon you, but you're just making it more difficult for yourself when your higher self goes to try to help you. If you can't clear those blockages, then you're going to be stuck until you find a way to resolve them.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to
that as well. Yeah.
Stone, none of us are immune from this in past lives and what we've experienced and done. I mean, look how we do with kids. We play cops and robbers, and we play roles like that in play even. So we know we've played it in our lives.
Yeah, well, why do you think we watch so much TV? It's all make-believe, but it's almost like we believe in it. And they've done that. That's part of the programming that comes through the TV. So we feel like we're actually there, or that we were at least a part of the story.
Right.
It works so well with us. They understand how our programming works, and they devised a system around us so that they could trigger us.
Well, that's all this stuff going on right now about all the things out there. And I was talking to somebody the other day, and I said, you can look and you can see these things, but if I look in my sphere of what I interact with on a daily basis, I don't run into that. I don't run into people being hateful. I don't run into people being, throwing racist comments around. And, I run into kind people. And, maybe people have a bad day, but it's not like they're evil. And so I'm thinking, how much do we know of what's actually existing out there versus what we're just being told exists to churn us all up? So if you can focus locally and say, what is it you're experiencing, and kind of feed into that and pay attention to that, you see more and more and more of that. I was playing with it this week, and the more energy I was feeling like that, I would look on the Facebook feed, and all I would see would be good messages.
Me too, yeah.
And one day I was like a little bit cranky, and I go on to Facebook, and I'm seeing all this crap, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to feel that anymore. I'm going to feel this good, wholesome, wholesome energy. And then I'm going to see that in the space around me, and it is happening more and more.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, well, now that I know about this, I can watch TV and I can block it out.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's not that simple, because the programming we are so susceptible to programming that you, even just leaving the TV on and hearing it, can actually trigger you, can actually, the frequency waves can actually trigger you. It sets the stage even in the background. In fact, a lot of their programming they got from the Nazis actually worked in the background. That was the whole, a lot of it was not to be so obvious. It wasn't until they started building out these TV shows and programs, they kept amping it up and see what they could get away with, and then watch society and find out whether or not it was working. That's exactly how they did it. They would run these shows, then they would check the news stories and find out
Where
how
were we?
what was going on. Then they'd amp it up some more. Then they'd watch all the news stories around the country, and they would draw a trajectory of what was going on and what was working and not working. And then they'd modify the shows. You ever wonder why shows that you thought were really good and going on, and then all of a sudden they canceled the show? It had there was no intent to actually make you happy.
Right.
The intent was to program you. The intent was to get you to do what they wanted. What most of the time, they turned a lot of these things over to corporations to get you to buy their products.
Right. Oh yeah.
To get you to act a certain way, to want a certain fashion.
Yeah, well, we've talked about Game of Thrones. I mean, it was going gangbusters. People were loving it. The messages were coming out, actually really good messages. And then all of a sudden they took a hard right or hard left or whatever you want to say. And it was like, what happened to this? And it was almost like they saw the trajectory where this was going. They didn't want us going there in that quick fashion. So they decided to, switch it up. And people were going like, this is not the same series that we were, watching.
And when you go fishing, the best kind of fishing is using live bait. They have to actually utilize something worthwhile to get your attention. So there's always a golden nugget surrounded by a bunch of lies and deceit and narrative. But there's always that golden nugget in there that attracts you. And that's what they get you hooked on. But you think you're just taking that nugget, and you're not. You're taking all the lies that go along with it. Because the news also sells it. It sells that all these things are going on. Trump is...
It's all the pork. All the pork.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's all the fat.
Yep.
But they sell all these narratives that this is what's going on in the world. This is what's going on in the country. This is how people are treating each other. This is when, in fact, a lot of it's crap. Yeah. I mean, do we even know that the things that we were taught in school about historical events actually happened?
No.
Because you learn it, I learn it, and then we fortify each other.
Yeah.
But funny thing was, when I started traveling abroad and working internationally, was when we started comparing history lessons across different countries, so I had a friend of mine grew up in Great Britain, in the UK, and I grew up here, and then we had some Germans and Norwegians, and we would start comparing what we thought of as the Revolutionary War and the World War I, and it was different stories, sometimes vastly different stories. And so it was like, that's when I started going like, whoa, okay, wait a minute, this is not. The
end of all this is that we're getting rid of that.
Yes,
we're pushing that out. Imagine if we got the corruption out. Let's just say it's more than just get the corruption out. We actually got the need for corruption out. Yeah. We actually got the need for mind programming in a destructive manner out. We push that out. How do we do it? Well, we start refusing those things that we know are not good for us.
Well, because once we wake up and clean up our vessel, then our discernment's on point. We need nothing. Yes. And they don't want us to need nothing, because we don't need any of them.
So if we stop eating junk, they're going to have to stop producing it, because it's not going to be profitable. If we stop if we stop watching the TV shows that they do, then they're not going to have an effect on us, and eventually people aren't watching it, and it's not going to get the ad money, and therefore it gets canceled. So there's all of these that you're withdrawing your energy from. You have the option to do that. There's nobody that can stop you from doing that.
Well, the desperation is showing now with all the different sports and the big ticket items that people have always tuned into. The NFL is imploding. Even world soccer, which is the most popular sport in the world, is imploding because it's not as free-flowing as we thought it was. There's too much money involved for the rich people to let it just float freely. They have been controlling it so that it fortifies their pockets and yet keeps people interested.
Right.
At least at a certain level. Unfortunately for them, we are being steered away from it by our higher selves, and we just stopped watching. Like we just stopped watching football. I mean, I grew up.
This is the first year I haven't seen one game like at all. Like not one. Last year I would sometimes turn on here and there, just check it out, but
same
like,
thing.
I have no interest whatsoever.
Yeah, I've been playing soccer since I was 5 years old. Throughout my whole life, I might go do short periods of time or whatnot when I didn't play or watch games on TV. I often watch either the MLS here in America, or I watch Barclays or the Champions League or whatever. I can't remember the last time I watched a game. It's been over a year that I watched a soccer game, and that is, I've never gone that long. But it's not that. It's not just that. It's all sports. They're all falling apart. Think about any of the big ticket items. Baseball, basketball. Basketball is imploding. I mean, because a lot of them are actually agents of China. I mean, you say, what? Agents of China? Well, they're agents of firms that are owned and operated from a parent company in China that give them their directive, who then tell the NBA stars what products to support and do advertising for, and how, and sometimes how to act, which advertising things do they get, should they be part of, and which ones should they turn down. So there's some big names who've been caught lying about it. But that basketball isn't the only one. They're all imploding. And now they've gotten desperate. How do you know? Look at their desperation. They're actually, NFL is starting to do some things to cause people to want to watch it, like more fights.
Yeah. But they're fake.
Drama, making it dramatic. They're turning it into like a reality show.
Yeah, but they're so fake. They're like a reality show. They're so fake. It's crazy, but yeah,
even reality shows were not reality.
No,
they were steering them in the background.
Yes.
For those who thought that like Survivor was actually, they just let people put people on an island and they were all whispering in their ear. They all had something that they were trying to accomplish, some narrative that they were pushing on people. It was in everything. There is no such thing as a free-flowing show on TV.
It's so funny. There was a show that was about like the behind the scenes of like a Bachelor type show, and the terrible things they were doing to the contestants to make them do things for the, for dramatic effect. And it just I watched that a long time ago, and that got me thinking about just the deeper aspect of all of it.
Yeah. Everything is.
Well, the NFL, there are NFL players coming out now saying that the games are rigged.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean they're not playing the game. I'm not saying that they don't play the game.
Right.
And I'm not saying that everyone who's playing in the NFL knows that the games are rigged. What I'm saying is key players, including referees, coaches, other people who can affect the game, are in on it somehow, some way. While there are lots of players who are trying to win for their team, there are other players who are trying to play a part, whether it's to win or lose or.
It's all just a job. It's their job to do what needs to be done.
Yep.
Yeah.
They know
that should make Redskins fans feel a whole lot better.
Yeah. It was their time to suck. So
take over the team.
Yeah. But the thing is that
a whole lot, WH.
But the thing is universe is snapping back. So no matter what they try, if it's not for our highest good, it's just not going to work anymore. Even though it worked for who knows how many years, it's not going to work anymore because times are changing and universe says it's time for a snapback.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. We're waking up.
Yeah, but we're not all waking up at the same speed, at the same level or whatnot. And that's okay, because humanity needs people at all different levels along the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
How do you know where's yours be? Just remember what my one of the items talked about. You will be attracted to a community that's attracted to the qualities that are the best qualities that are coming out in you.
Yes.
And that's all the more reason to let go of attachments, to allow yourself and allow others to follow that.
But the good thing is that society is self-accommodating. It will accommodate you whether you choose to, go at a higher this frequency or this frequency. It will accommodate you, and you'll be attracted to different things depending on how much you allow your frequency to rise.
Right.
Yeah, like the Facebook page I said. The day I was vibrating high, it was like all good articles were showing up. The day I had like a cranky feeling when I pulled up the Facebook, it was like all these, and I'm like, wow, it was totally affecting it. Yeah, it is. It's responding to us
because
very quickly.
We are the base elements in this whole humanity community structure that keeps it in place. The old paradigm stayed the way it was because they could control us to keep it at that base level, that low frequency. But now everything they're trying is not working to keep us at that status quo, that low level. And now whether you're trying or not trying, whatnot, your frequency is actually being nudged upwards. Can you go faster? Yeah. But not by trying harder. It's by letting and actually pausing when you run into these situations, because everything that's going on outside you is what is a reflection of what's going on inside you. So if you can tie what's going on externally to something going on internally and actually resolve it internally, you'll see it morph externally.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Beautiful. Fun time to be alive. Fun time to be alive. So
this is a great talk tonight.
Absolutely.
They're getting better.
They are. I feel that too. Yes, I was just thinking that. It feels so much, it's just flowing so much better.
Yep. I think the three of us we're all buying into it more and more, and it's like raising the foundation.
So I'm getting tingles all on my back of my head, like big time tingles. My crown chakra is going crazy.
So, I mean, this is great, and thank you for being a part of it.
Thank you guys for having me. This is like the best part of my week sometimes.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we look forward to it. But we try not to get attached to it. I mean, we just
I know, me too.
If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. We'll just keep sliding forward. But I'm going to keep making my list because I get so much from it.
And the lists are getting so much deeper. All of the topics are getting more. Just there's so many more layers and more depth to them.
And we all can do this. I just happened to get my obstacles out of the way so that stream would start running, and I could, hey, there's thoughts and ideas in here that I can write these down and start developing my word magic, because these ideas come into me and then I'm like, okay, I kind of get the idea, but then I have to go through some word magic to get the words down. But as I'm doing it, if I don't choose the right words, it doesn't resonate. It's kind of like, oh, no, okay.
Right.
But it's fun.
Like, and you can just know when it feels right. It's just the perfect thing. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, because that's another whole thing we can talk about, our word magic, because that's huge. Our word usage is extremely powerful.
Yes. Because one word can trigger you. It can lock you up. It can bring fear to you at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
Because of prior beliefs and the programming.
Right. It's good to try to understand that, like neuro-linguistic programming, because people can use it against you, and then once you know it, then you can crack the code.
This is the training that I talked about, that your higher self is now trying to push out, if we'll allow it, to each of us about how to take our own reins, and where you get to select the rider horse combo, and that's best for you.
Yeah, Lisa Transcendence Brown on Awakening to Remember has a free training course on there. It's called Reprogram Yourself, or Reprogram Program or something. And it takes words and you meditate on the words. And it really is amazing when you start to break those words down and think, wow, okay, this really, it shows you some of that word magic. So if anybody's interested, you can check it out. There's no cost to it. And it's like a word a day for 90 days or something.
Yeah, I want to see that.
Yeah, it's very, very good.
And
a lot of people in my life get annoyed at me because I'm like, well, you could say it this way instead of that way.
That's good. That's word magic.
Yes.
We're unraveling the code so that you can not be triggered this way and still get your message across.
Right.
Because there are many ways to say the same thing. But so I'd say be on the lookout to other means and other ways, listening to other people. You'll know, because it'll resonate. You'll feel the truth in it. And if you don't feel that, there's no harm. Just move on to something else.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, it's been fun. Fun. Thanks for coming to play.
Yeah.
Anything else either of you want to?
Nope, that's it for me.
Complete? Okay.
That's good.